Hello and welcome to the Federal. This is your host for the program Off the Beaten Track, Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay. Indian politics is always in a churn. A part of the reason is that we are perpetually in the election season. In just months, elections will be underway in three northeastern states, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Nagaland. A few months later, Karnataka will elect its next government. In the winter months, assembly elections will be due in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and Telangana. Elections could also be held for the first time during the year in the newly created Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And 2024 will be the big festival, the Lok Sabha elections. Then there are some crucial developments which will take place throughout 2023. These will have a bearing on the nature of India's politics. The completion of Ram Mandir and being thrown open to devotees, maybe not formally inaugurated in December 2023, as is the plan, but definitely devotees would be able to start going into the Ayodhya temple. Plus, there will be developments on Varanasi and Mathura, which are also beginning to heat up, plus maybe many other places where there are temple mosques disputes. There are also several important cases which are being heard or are pending in the Supreme Court. Their verdict will also have an impact on how the country's politics progresses as we head into the big election year in 2024. Now, I'm joined by the veteran journalist Neerja Choudhury, a long-time colleague and friend who keeps a hawk's eye on India's politics and has now started a very important column for the newspaper Indian Express, where she is going to be tracking the parliamentary elections right up to 2024. Now, in one of her latest columns, she has actually talked about 2023 as to how this is going to be fairly important. So, Neerja Choudhury, welcome to this program, and thank you very much for being part of this program and discussing something which is actually going to enable us to understand which way is the country heading. Now, I gave you a bit of in my introduction, I spoke a bit about what has happened. We also are aware that what has happened. In the past, we also saw the stupendous performance of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Gujarat. What do you think are the main points to look for in 2023? Would it be more of the same, more of the BJP's agenda being accepted by the people and not looking on day-to-day bread and butter or what are called bijli, sadak, pani issues during elections?
First of all, Nilanjan, thank you for having me on your program. And it's always a pleasure to chat with you. I
Same here.
Go up and on issues and chatted with you, which has been very informative for me, and I learn a lot and I enjoy it. Because
same here, I would say. There's so much to learn from you.
Yeah, I like to track politics. But looking at 2023, the question you asked, as you say, there are going to be 10 elections, certainly 9, and the possibility of Jammu and Kashmir certainly being an imminent one and likely. So it's going to be an important year. The BJP thrives on elections, as you and I know. They further their agenda. They work very hard on winning elections. That is their goal number 1. So these 10 elections are going to be an important trend setter, momentum builder for the BJP as well as for the opposition. Then I see 3 major events which the BJP will encash, at least create a hype around them and encash that to build Narendra Modi's image further. He is already a bit of a cult and, use that to get more votes. So the 3 I look at are the inauguration of the new parliament and the central which has Narendra Modi's personal stamp. And I think that is expected, at least they are pushing the architects and the builders to allow at least a part of it, the ground floor and maybe the first floor, to be inaugurated in April, at least the second half of the budget session. Then, of course, comes this major event, the summit on September 9th and 10th of the G20 countries, and India is the president in this year from this December to the next December. And, you know, I'm in Bombay at the moment, Nilanjan, and I've sort of driven around, you know, where one of the meetings of the delegates took place. And I'm amazed at this city looking really like a bride. It's like, you know, it looks like not a financial capital. It looks like a heritage city. It's just marvelous to go around it and see what is possible with just lighting of old buildings. So even though critics have said, you know, you have hidden the ugly parts of the city, you know, they put up big posters in front of the old slums near the airport. But yet you feel good about it when you drive around, you know, that India could be like this. So I think they planned 200 events around the country, and the Prime Minister, you will recall, not long ago had hosted this meeting in Rashtrapati Bhavan with the major opposition leaders, and he reached out to them, and you know, the photographs captured the bonhomie between after a long time. I saw the Prime Minister put an arm around somebody and talk, reach out to all the opposition parties and sought their help to make this once in a lifetime event. Now the opposition, of course, says the G20 presidency comes by rotation. What's a big deal about it? But once it's come, the Prime Minister is making the most of it and plans to make the most of it. So that is going to be a summit worth watching. And it will build, at least the BJP will try and build a momentum around it. In the run-up to the very important winter elections that are to take place, which are going to be in the Hindi heartland, the three, as we know, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, which BJP hopes to capture, rest from the Congress in 2 states and retain in Madhya Pradesh. And then there is Telangana, where the BJP has been working very hard. Of course, it's going to be a difficult one for
very
BJP.
Tough.
Because, you know, it had only 3 seats, and the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, now the Bharat Rashtra Samiti, had 103 out of 190. So that's a big climb to make, but still. And then the third event, which is going to take place, is the Mandir. End of the year, and most likely it will be January 2024, again, in the run-up to the elections. And I feel if they manage to build up a momentum around all this, and if they don't have problems with China and the resurgence of COVID and the economy spinning out of control, then they may even think of going for early elections next year, you know, again, and cash that momentum. I mean, it cannot be ruled out. Early days yet to talk about it. But these three, the events and interspersed with these important elections, are going to be noteworthy about the next year.
Right. When we talk about early elections next year, you're actually meaning 24, or are you thinking in terms of
24,
23
24.
itself? In 24.
If I say, you know, you have the Mandir, you had this hype over the G20, then you have the opening of the Grand Mandir. And if you talk to people in Uttar Pradesh particularly, and you must have done that yourself, people talk not so much of the temple getting built. That's a given for them. What they talk more about is, here is this man who is delivering his promise. He said he will build it, and he's building it. So it's, you know, what is the message that's coming across is Modi delivering rather than a temple per se getting built. It's a fine distinction I'm making.
Right. I think it needs to be made. But as far as early elections are concerned, I'm not very certain that whether Mr. Modi is going to go in for early elections. The only time that he's had early elections was in 2002, when he advanced the elections by a few months, because the elections could have been held a bit later, but it was advanced. so that he could actually capitalize on what he felt would be the political benefits accruing from the Gujarat riots immediately after the Godhra carnage. He has been known to tell people that actually early elections does not really make much of an effect, and he keeps pointing out to the mistake which happened during Mr. Vajpayee's time when they called for early elections and ended up losing the elections. That is what happened in 2004. But there is something very important, which I need to ask you about this BJP bandwagon, which has been moving incessantly from 2014 onwards. In fact, just as we speak, we should remember that exactly 10 years ago, Mr. Modi marked his presence on a national scene after the 2012 assembly elections when he got elected as Gujarat Chief Minister for the third time. After that, it was more or less understood that he is going to be the BJP's prime ministerial candidate, and that this is what has happened. One of the most notable things, which you have also commented in several of your articles, we have also taken note of, is the BJP's expanding social base. In terms of, caste and communities, we are also expecting the Rohini Commission report to come out anytime in 23, which could possibly be implemented to further enhance the support of the BJP among the OBCs. In any case, the BJP is a far greater OBC outreach party than what it used to be 10 years in the pre-Modi era. While there is tremendous attempt to reach out to communities within the Hindu community, within the Hindus, the Muslims are getting more and more marginalized. Not just the Muslims, the religious minority. There have also been noises by the Sikh, clergy. The SGPC has actually, voiced a protest on Bal Shahid Divas being announced, and being celebrated. So there appears to be some kind of a disinterest among the BJP to try to get the support of the religious minorities also. Would you say that this is a fair way of looking at it?
I would say, Nilanjan, that, I was recently in Mustafabad,
right,
this constituency in Delhi Assembly segment.
That's right.
I found where, the AAP had not done well, and last time it had got the votes. And I found, and it's a Muslim dominated area, and I found.
This is Northeast Delhi.
Yeah, this Northeast Delhi. Muslims saying very interesting thing, more than one Muslim saying this, that if the Congress does not shape up, then we can even look at BJP next time round. Or no, rather, if the AAP, in that case, if the AAP doesn't shape up that they had voted for, then we will look at BJP in the next elections. Now, I find here in Bombay, a large number of Muslims, they won't talk about it, but they are now going to, they say they will back the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Shiv Sena.
Right.
Because, they see the Congress not coming up to scratch. Congress not in several states, not able to be the leader giving a fight to the BJP. So, who would have thought 10 years ago, Nilanjan, that the Muslims will talk about
Shiv
Sena as an alternative? Of course, the Shiv Sena is a lot. Uddhav Thackeray has given it a very different kind of an image. He's worked with the NDP and the Congress to give a fight to the BJP. And if you ask people in Bombay, they say the Shiv Sena is fighting. Of course, the Shiv Sena has the Bombay Municipal Corporation. That's a cash cow. Elections are due, and they're likely to win them, from what people say. But the BJP and Prime Minister has talked about reaching out to the Pasmanda Muslims, the backward amongst the Muslims.
Right.
So one cannot rule out, the BJP going for a section of the Muslim, and there is a section of Muslim that feels, why should we move, as one of them put it, why shouldn't we do a deal with the company? Why do we have to move through an agent?
Right.
A section of the Muslims will say, okay, let's get the benefits out of doing a deal with the BJP. Not everybody will do it, but I think we should, let's see how the situation pans out. But coming to your point of the BJP is no longer a Baniya Brahmin party that you
Definitely
and I
not.
know. It is, the day Narendra Modi was sworn in as Prime Minister, you would recall the word poor was used in his speech, his first speech. And that was very,
That's right.
very, and he's reached out now to communities, the Dalits, he's reached out to the most backwards, and this G. Rohini Commission that you talk about, it is to subcategorize the OBCs, to make sure that, that benefits of reservation in government jobs and in education admissions goes to the most backwards also.
Right.
That is the whole part of it. And the commission had 13 extensions, and the judgment was reserved for January 2023. And suppose, as it's expected to rule in favor of MBC, so that, like they say, 96%, one of its findings was that 96% of the reservations was cornered by 25%
of the OBCs.
and largely by 10 OBCs. Only
Right.
the larger amongst them and the more powerful amongst them. So that will be a game changer. According to me, if that happens, it's going to be a major signal to the most backwards. And they may try and create another category, not just most backwards, but extremely backwards. So I think that needs to be watched with care. But Modi's cocktail is many things. Modi's cocktail is Hindutva, nationalism, OBC and MBCs amongst them, social welfareism, tapping on aspirational India, strong leader. So it is a very heady cocktail, which the opposition has not yet evolved a counter narrative to.
Right. You mentioned the Pasmanda Muslims a short while ago. Do you find any contradiction or any problems in the reach out to the Pasmanda Muslims because of the overarching Hindutva narrative? Look at the developments in the last few months in Varanasi, in Mathura, what has happened with the latest order of the lower judiciary giving an order for a survey. The Places of Worship Act is already under a judicial scrutiny in the Supreme Court. There have also been developments in the shrine of Bhodhshala in Madhya Pradesh. There is also a mosque temple dispute building up very close to Mangalore. Plus the wish list of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of hundreds or thousands of so-called temples which were demolished and mosques to be made. So there is a constant, identification of the Muslim. There's this very conscious realization of the Muslim identity within the community. Will this not in any way prevent the BJP's outreach to the Pasmanda Muslims? And if they are successful, will it not put off some of their hardcore Hindutva supporters?
It could. That is a risk they run. I think, but I think they will certainly try it's a tightrope walk, but they will certainly try, even if they can wean away because what they say is our programs have not gone against the Muslims. The benefit of all our programs have gone as much to the Muslims as to others. So those are the lines. They will put it under the development umbrella. But if they can wean away even 10%, and they get the
10% of the Muslim community. That's what you're meaning to say. Like they did in Gujarat, that they had always 10% of the
absolutely
Muslims.
Like they did in Gujarat. And if smaller parties break into that vote bank, as the AIMIM or Aam Aadmi Party,
even if it gets divided in the non-BJP vote parties, then I think it will not be a consolidated vote. In any case, a lot of people feel that the Muslims are even not politically as homogeneous as many of us journalists believe them to be. So that is there. But when we talk, let's stop talking about the elections. We have the first elections in these three northeastern states: Meghalaya, Tripura, and Nagaland. You've heard the BJP has had some problems in Meghalaya. The ruling party has decided that it is not going to fight the elections in alliance with the BJP. What do you make out of this? Is there a possibility that the BJP might be, having some kind of diminishing support within the Northeast after having really taken on the entire space which used to be held by the Congress at one point in the entire region?
Yeah, I think, there has been growing disenchantment against the BJP in the Northeast. But the tragic part of it is that the Congress is nowhere in the picture.
Right.
Not in Meghalaya, where it's the TMC
Right.
that's making inroads. Not in Nagaland, and not in
Tripura also. Exactly.
also. So I mean, it is really tragic to me. It's an area with the Congress ruled with the regional parties at various times, and to be virtually totally wiped out today. They will not find candidates. They are looking for candidates who will
Right.
stand on their symbol. So what happens in this situation? You will have regional parties versus BJP. BJP is a tag on, except in
Right. Right.
regional parties, and that's the kind of thing, whether before elections or after elections, it will play that role. And you have what I would call uh, a political wizard in Hemanta Biswa Sarma, how he's
Right.
managed to not just capture Assam for the BJP, but the entire Northeast. And
Right.
so it is a state of flux. So the elections will be very, very soon. In March, the assemblies, new
That's right.
assemblies have to be constituted. So
Within a month, we'll be in the middle of the election season
yeah, and
there.
then certain parties have announced their candidates. The first lists
That's
have
right.
come out.
Have
But the
started coming out, yes.
tragic message of these three states is the virtual decimation of the Congress party. And of course, there have been desertions, there have been backing, not the kind of leadership, but it has also been, I think, total neglect by Delhi of northeastern states. The Delhi Congress High Command have not
That
paid
is
the
that
North.
is true about other states also. We have Karnataka, where the Congress was a significant force at one point. We really do not know what will be its chances there. And plus, you have the three states which used to be a direct head-on confrontation with the BJP, bipolar states, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh. We do not know. We have seen that how the Aam Aadmi Party entered into a bipolar state and did so well in Gujarat. How do you look at the Congress prospects, and what do you think is the reason as to why it has not been able to get its act together?
I think you see, Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra has enthused the worker of the Congress.
That's right.
I saw it in Maharashtra, and this small place, like it's a pilgrim place, Shegaon, where a huge rally of 3 lakh people, small place, huge rally took place.
Right.
And that was mobilized by the Congress workers for Rahul
Right.
Gandhi to address. Now, I would like to know, after the yatra has gone through Maharashtra and it had unprecedented response, what is the game plan put in place for the elections,
Right.
For the local elections, that they
Right.
need, and show that the yatra has actually worked? There is very little. I'm back in Maharashtra. There's very little sign of any follow-up taking place.
Right.
And I think that is the problem. And if that task should be completely, wholeheartedly, unconditionally given to the new Congress president to work out. Mallikarjun Kharge should be given a free hand to reorganize the party and do these, this nuts and bolts politics that is needed. Now in Karnataka, Congress people say it's a done deal, we are coming back to power. And
Right.
they have a very good chance because the BJP, there is a lot of anti-incumbency against the BJP, you know that.
Right.
And there is also this caste war again, reservation. What is called the Mandal phenomenon has not gone away, Nilanjan. Mandal
Right.
is getting devolution of power, getting decentralized with not only more communities wanting reservation, but subsects wanting. And now there is a demand from within a subsect of the Lingayat community. They want the Lingayats want their reservation to go up from 5% to 10%. So also the Vokaligas, and so also the Kurubas want ST reservation.
Right.
Reservation has become an important issue in Karnataka. And I think the Congress has, because of its factionalism,
Right.
with D.K. Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah,
Pulling in different directions.
different directions. I think what can they let victory slip out of the hands? You wonder. Or will it be a hung assembly? Now, these kind of questions should not have been, put at this time, because it seemed
Right.
like a clear victory for the Congress. And coming middle of the year, it will give a huge impetus to the Congress if it wins Karnataka. Karnataka may turn out to be, in psychological advantage terms, a bit like UP, if the
Okay.
Congress plays its cards right, but will it?
Right. Now, moving away from elections, one very quick question. You talked about G20. How much of national pride has been a factor in the BJP's victory? There has been this constant narrative from the time Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister that he has enhanced India's prestige outside India. People are openly saying that we can now walk with high heads. Mr. Modi has ensured that we are received with dignity. Does it really play such an important role in election and deciding on electoral choices of people?
I think with younger people, it has played a role. A lot of young
Okay.
people see this. He's done us proud on the global stage. He's enhanced
Right.
India's image. Now, if you and I can, or for foreign policy experts will, if you break down the fine print, you can find
Yes.
many things, intrusion by China. Is it really true, what people believe? But certainly the perception is there. And it's
Right.
perception that matters. And the NRI community also has played a very big role in this. And his strategy to reach out to the NRI community in those early years of his premiership,
Right.
Madison
Was very
Square,
important.
it made world leaders take note of him. It was
Right.
a good strategy. So yes, but to answer your question, I think younger people particularly believe he has enhanced India's image, and G20 will play to that narrative, because
Right.
have the world leaders come and be around him, and he'll be at the center of it. And unless things, we don't know what China is going to do, or the timing of
Right. We really cannot say that what is going to happen as far as China and the intrusions there are going to happen. It's quite possible that they might do to Mr. Modi what Mr. Modi has been doing to the rest of the world, in terms of, of counter offensives, as it happened in 2019. One last question, so what we are actually looking at, from what I understand from your understanding, is that it's fairly comfortable for the BJP, the road till 2024 and beyond that, but it is there in the opposition if they can get their act together. And within the opposition, the Congress, more important, is if it gets its act together so that it can at least pose some kind of a challenge. Once you pose kind of a challenge, all kinds of things can start happening. Is this a correct reading of the situation?
I think, yes, as things are going, it's going to be comfortable for Mr. Modi, unless dramatic things happen and done by China, COVID, or the economy,
Okay.
which we are not able to see. Opposition is in a state of flux. Regional parties want opposition unity. Nitish Kumar, RJD, TRS, they want. Congress, we don't know what his strategy is going to be, because Rahul Gandhi attacked the regional parties of late, during Yatra. But the strong point of the opposition party is not the macro. They don't have a figure to take on somebody like
Right.
Nilanjan.
So they have
Their
to chip
strong
at the
point
micro
is
level.
the micro. Can they have one-on-one contests against the BJP in every Lok Sabha constituency? 60% of the vote is still with them. Can they?
Right.
And
I think
that is where the secret of success may lie. And if they can bring down Mr. Modi by 60, 70 seats only, suppose he's down to 240. If he's down to 240, the game will change.
yes. I think that's very well put, that at the macro level, they cannot take on Mr. Modi, but at the micro level, it's all there for the opposition to win. Let's see what happened. And thank you very much, Neerja Choudhury, for joining on this very important discussions in the events up in 2023 in the run-up to 2024. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Nilanjan.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.